All right, good morning. How's everybody doing? You guys ready for this? The CoC University. All right, well, just want to welcome you. My name is Steve Peterson, and I'm the Director of Programs at the Mission of Kern County and the Chair of the Governing Board. Just want to give a few acknowledgments. Let's give a big hand to Jeff Oxford and the team here at DHS for hosting us this morning. And I want to thank the BKRHC, Mary and Destiny in the back. Anna's not here, but Rick is back there. Let's give a hand to BKRHC for they supplied all the stuff here, all the notebooks, the pens, the water in the back. You had to bring your own coffee. Is that okay? And so we already had it. Okay. The water. We're going to have lunch a little bit later as well, and they're supplying that too. So that's going to be awesome. Also, this has been a long time coming. So at the governing board, we decided several months ago that we needed to do some training for everybody. Because how many know we have a lot of things that the CoC does? And how many know everything that we do? Probably not. I don't even know everything we do, okay? And so when you come in, you hear all these acronyms right here, HMIS, you hear, BI-SPDAT, you hear CES, you hear all these things, okay? So what do they all mean? And how do they all work? And why do we all do them? So that's why we figured, hey, we need to do this training so we can get it all out there.
Story 2, imminent risk.
Right, and so they can better serve our community. Kind of my theme this year is building a better community together, all right? And that's what we want to do. And so we got some great training coming up. A couple of housekeeping things, restrooms, if you need to use those, they're down the hall and you'll see a sign. There's signs for women's and men's restrooms down there. Again, we have water in the back. There's a schedule for all the upcoming trainings. The next one will be on February 23rd, and that'll be back here as well. I'm going to go through some more topics. There's 16 different topics that we're going to be going through this year. And how we're doing this in 4 phases. So this is phase 1, session 1, and then we'll do session 2, February 23rd. Each quarter, we're going to have 2 different sessions that'll go about 4 hours each. How many have signed up for all of them? Okay, and how many don't know? How many know you're just here because somebody told you to be here? Okay. All right. Well, and hopefully you'll come back for the other ones too, okay? And we're going to have a great time. We have some great presenters here this morning. I just want to kind of go through the schedule. So we're going to kick off with, in a moment here, with Rebecca Moreno from CAPK. And then we're going to have here from McKinney from Open Door. And then when they're done, we'll have a break. Okay, we'll have about a 20-minute break. That way, if you need to run into Starbucks or something, okay, you can do that. And then about 10:30 or so, we'll kick back off with HMIS training, okay? After that's done, we'll have lunch and we'll have just a little quick wrap up. So that's kind of our schedule for the day. So hope everybody's comfortable. You got everything you need. This is just like church. All the seats up front are empty. So I feel ready to go. All right. So we're going to go ahead and kick this off, and I'm going to introduce to you from CAPK, Rebecca Moreno. She's going to walk us through our first 2 things, and on the BI-SPDAT and the coordinated entry system. So let's welcome Rebecca Moreno.
Good morning, everyone. So before I get into the presentation, I just want to kind of get a feel of where we're at. First, hi, I'm Rebecca Moreno with Individual or Family. I'm the Director of Community Development. I oversee our coordinated entry system, and everyone here operates within the coordinated entry system. So I just want to get a feel of the room. How many of you are new, like 3 months or less? Okay, perfect, quite a bit. 3 to 9 months. Okay, 9 months plus. Okay, all right, good deal. How many of you have access to HMIS? Okay. And how many of you are frontline staff? You're working directly with your clients? Perfect. All right, great. Okay, so we got a good mix. So some of you, this will be repeat information. We'll be going over, I'm going to go over Homelessness 101. So this is going to cover for the newbies here. I just want to give really clear somewhat here as well. Some people just started today and the last couple of weeks. So perfect timing. So we're going to do Homelessness 101. We're going to cover coordinated entry, and we're going to cover the ISPID Act. So we'll go through all of those items, and then we'll go through any questions at the end. This one.
Yep.
Okay, so again, I'm with CAPK. We operate the coordinated entry system. We are contracted with the Bakersfield Kern Regional Homeless Collaborative to operate the system. A coordinated entry system is a system that we all use for data collection, housing placements, prioritization. But first, let's get into some Homelessness 101. There are 4 categories of homelessness as defined by HUD. HUD is Housing and Urban Development. HUD's definition of homelessness is organized into 4 categories. I know this is something that we have to explain, and I deal with community members, with people calling in. You know, I have someone that I know they're homeless, but you know, it's a broad term, right? But HUD is very specific in their definition of homelessness. So category 1, literally homeless. That's who you're going to see out on the streets. Category 2, imminent risk of homelessness. Category 3, McKinney bento. So any of our school systems or foster youth systems, that's where they're going to fall under. Category 4, fleeing or attempting to flee domestic violence. And HUD also separately defines chronicity or chronic homelessness. So let's get into the definitions here. So this is going to be what you see typically, right? This is when you're driving down the street or driving downtown, this is what we're going to see. Definition: an individual or family who lacks a fixed, regular, adequate nighttime residence. Meaning, has a primary nighttime residence that is a public or private place, not meant for human habitation. So abandoned buildings, bus stations, parks, anything of that nature. Is living in a publicly or private operated shelter designated to provide temporary living arrangements. So we have quite a few of those here. So that's going to be the mission of Kern County, the Open Door Network, M Street Navigation, and Brundage Lane. Also CBAF as well, transitional housing. And someone who is exiting an institution where they resided for 90 days or less and resided in an emergency shelter or were homeless, literally homeless, prior to their exit. So if they were homeless, then they went into a treatment facility, they went to jail, and they were there for 90 days or less, and they're now coming out, they're still considered homeless. They maintain that homeless status. Okay. Category 2, at risk of homelessness. This is where we probably see a lot of questions in this area. So definition: individual or family who will immediately lose their primary nighttime residence, provided that residence will be lost within 14 days of the date of application or homeless assistance. No subsequent residence has been identified, and the individual or family lacks the resources or support networks needed to obtain other permanent housing. So this is where they're going to have a 3-day pay or quit notice. an eviction notice. Anything of that nature, that's where this falls. Also, what falls under this is couch surfing. So if you have someone who doesn't have their own place, they're going to say, well, I'm homeless because I don't have my own apartment. I live with my friend. Couch surfing is a term that we use if they're sleeping on someone's couch or they're someone's, spare bedroom or garage, but they have access to the utilities, water, restrooms. They are couch surfing because they're living with a friend or family at a temporary basis. So what we do with that is if, let's say, I agree to let my friend stay and I tell them, well, you can stay for 15 days, like 2 weeks, and that's it, because I can't have you stay here on my lease. Or so now that person would be eligible under the at-risk of homelessness because they have a timeline of vacating that unit, that it's not a long-term stay. Okay, category 3, I'm not going to, okay, not seeing anywhere. I will just introduce the slide and the definition only because we don't really homeless. There are programs, Kern County Network for Children, Superintendent of Schools, the Dream Center, they have resources for McKinney Bento. Under HUD guidelines, under our typical programs, we don't have those resources. You have to be authorized by HUD in order to be able to provide those resources. So this covers families that are, gosh, my mind is so blank. Sharing, co-sharing. So they're living with another family. So you have multiple families in one unit, which we see a lot here, especially in our outlying areas. So you have, your cousin's family living with you, and they're a family of 4 or 5 in one bedroom. So they're overcrowded in the apartment. They're considered homeless under McKinney Bento because they're staying with a family. They don't have a lease in their name, and they're staying with relatives in an overcrowded situation. So I just wanted to introduce it, but again, that's not really, unfortunately, we have not been able to really dive into this area. Anyone from the schools here? School systems? Okay, so you're familiar with the McKinney Bento programs at the schools. We try to assist and help in ways that we can. If we can qualify them under at risk, that's like our bridge, and that's how we try to work with that. And then category 4 is fleeing or attempting to flee domestic violence. Any individual or family who is fleeing or is attempting to flee domestic violence has no other residence and lacks the resources or support networks to obtain other permanent housing. Okay. There we go. Oh. All right. So before we jump into chronically homeless, are there any questions on those 4 categories? Okay, not seeing any. We'll go ahead and move on. Chronically homeless. This is a long one. So any individual who has been homeless, and notice this says individual and not individual family. There is a caveat for family. However, it's based off of the head of household. So it'll go into it a little bit. Any individual who has been homeless and living or residing in a place not meant for human habitation for at least 1 year, and that's a consecutive year, or at least 4 separate occasions in the last 3 years. Each period separating the occasions must include at least 7 nights of living in a situation other than a place not meant for human habitation. Can be diagnosed with 1 or more of the following conditions: substance use disorders, serious mental illness, developmental post-traumatic stress disorder, cognitive impairments, brain injury, chronic physical illness or disability. So they have to have that diagnosis along with the time of homeless in order to be considered chronic. So those go hand in hand. And then, of course, it goes into has been residing in an institutional care facility with the 90-day criteria. So that's just kind of a repeat. So homeless before they went into the institution, they're there for 90 days, they're exiting and back into homelessness. They maintain their homeless status. Now here comes the family portion. So if we have a family can be identified as chronically homeless. However, the individual, the head of household, has to meet this criteria. So a family with an adult head of household that year of homelessness, certainly a minor head of household who meets all of the criteria and of this definition, including a family whose composition has fluctuated while the head of household has been homeless. So if you have a family and they're saying they've been chronically homeless, the head of household has to meet this criteria. So they have to have that documented. And this is the difficult part of it is we have a lot of people coming through, and when we're interviewing them, when we're doing assessments with them, they have said that they are chronically homeless. They self-identify as that. Now it is our responsibility as providers, as coordinated entry, to prove that chronicity. And so if we have someone identifying as chronically homeless, we have to be able to prove it. And proof is showing that year of homelessness. So if we have someone who has come into an emergency shelter and they've been in the shelter for a year, that's an easy fix. We can show that with HMIS. Let's say we have someone who's unhoused, but they've been working with outreach, they've been working with flood. So they can go, and as long as flood has those encounters every month and verify their homelessness every month, then we could use that documentation. The client can self-certify for 3 months. According to HUD's regulations, they can self-certify and say, I was homeless from January through March, and then the provider can certify through proof, HMIS records, other community member records. So if we have like a store owner or even a police officer, they know the individual and they encounter them on a regular basis, they can provide the letter and documentation stating that they've certified that they're homeless, that they've seen them. That letter from a community member or a police officer has to be very specific. It has to include on this day, January 2022, I saw them February 2022, March 22. It has to include every month that they've been homeless and had that interaction. And so we have to have that very detailed reported homelessness in order to be eligible and verified as chronically homeless. Once you get the documentation along with their disability verification, so disability verification can be their SSDI letter, their VA letter, any medical like certification from a doctor stating that they have a disability, and it doesn't have to be that physical, it could be substance abuse or anything like that, so they can sign the disability form. And so if you have all of those documentations, then you would submit that over to coordinated entry, and we would review the information. They would be verified homelessness, and then they would move up in that priority. Okay, what is coordinated entry? And then they would move up. Coordinated entry system, CES, is the system to assist all Kern County communities by ending homelessness by providing a clear and systematic pattern for helping individuals to quickly access the most appropriate services available through a standardized access, standardized assessment process, and a coordinated match referral. So if you see here, added an illustration of what things were like before we had coordinated entry. So we have people accessing the system at any entrance, any entry point. And an entry point is all of you. It's outreach, it's 211, it is the shelters, it is CBAF, it is school systems. Every person that encounters homeless individuals or families is considered an access point. So DHS, even doctor's offices could be considered that. So we were having people, just kind of come in. They were trying to access services through different providers. At one point, each provider had 400 to 500 referrals or new clients pending in order to get services because they were accessing, I'm going to go to Flood, I'm going to go to Clinica, I'm going to go over here, I'm going to go to the Mission. They were just trying to get in wherever they could. And so that created a huge backlog, even more than what we have now. So it's kind of chaotic. It's difficult to navigate through the system. It's difficult to navigate through housing. But with coordinated entry, so it kind of streamlines that process. So now we have the orange dots going to the orange house because that's been identified as the most appropriate house for the orange dot and so on. And so now we have a systematic way to house and process people through an orderly and a prioritized process. We want to make sure that we are serving the most vulnerable in our community first, which doesn't necessarily mean the most easiest to serve. It is the most vulnerable. And that's another reason why it was coordinated, because we have people, you have someone coming in the system who is chronically homeless, who doesn't have any documents. And they were staying in the system a lot longer because we had someone who just entered homelessness and had everything ready to go. So that was easy to get them housed and get them moving. But the person who was needing the resources the most was staying unhoused. And so it just kind of makes it a fair process. Why do we use coordinated entry? Because HUD tells us we have to. That's the short answer. And what HUD says we do. So the U.S. Department of Housing, HUD requires all continuums of care, COCs. We are the COC. Establish and operate a coordinated entry process, and that recipients of the COC program and Emergency Solutions Grants, ESG program funding within the COCs must use coordinated entry process. Now, when this first started, it was only HUD and ESG funding sources that required coordinated entry. But we are seeing that now most of the funding sources that are coming through, like the state funding sources, they are requiring coordinated entry as well. So I've included the link there. Should you choose to research it a little bit more. Now, who is coordinated entry? Again, we are all coordinated entry. So coordinated entry can be our 211 call center. Coordinated entry can be our case management, our shelters, and our outreach. It is the goal of the CS policies and procedures that every collaborative member, funded or not, has an open door policy to safely and is easily accessible, to individuals who strive to go from place to place, agency to agency, to receive services and begin their path to housing. So we have one coordinated entry project under all coordinated entry where all the data is collected. So if you have access to HMIS and you're doing that data entry, you have access to Community Action Partnership in HMIS to enter your coordinated entry system. That was the option that we chose. There was multiple options that HUD provided and said you can operate your coordinated entry how you see fit under these guidelines. We chose to give everyone access to Community Action Partnership in HMIS, and so we can enter it all under one point in the database. Assessments. Assessment points ensure that housing first model is used during the administering of the assessment tool. And if you don't know what housing first is, I believe that's going to be on one of the trainings in the near future. But housing first is that. Housing comes before anything else. Housing comes before substance abuse services, before medical services, before a job. It comes before anything else. Once the person is stably housed, then they're able to focus on other areas of concern. So that's just a quick introduction to housing first. Any individual housed that meets HUD's definition of homelessness will receive the VI SPDAT. The appropriate VI SPDAT is used for the specific population being assessed. So the family VI SPDAT for families, the youth TASE SPDAT for youth. Youth qualifies 18 to 24, and the VI SPDAT for single, prevention, rehousing VI SPDAT for at-risk. What is the VI SPDAT and why do we call these? We are the CoC because it is the Vulnerability Index Service Prioritization Decision Assistance Tool. VI SPDAT. The VI SPDAT is a tool that combines the strengths of two existing assessments to help communities and programs target those most in need to help determine what type of program or support is most appropriate. It combines the Vulnerability Index and the SPDAT pre-screen tool. Gathers the information from the VI and uses a binary scale in the pre-screen to measure the presence. To measure the presence of an issue rather than the depth of the issue. So this is just a tool that we use to get an assessment. Developed as an assessment tool to prioritize through coordinated entry. How many have done an interview with someone for the VI SPDAT? Okay, so for those of you who haven't, the VI SPDAT has, I don't know what, like 30-something questions. And it's gauging for vulnerabilities. So it's looking for comorbidities. It has medical, mental health, and I think it's like overall well-being. It asks questions like, do you have substance abuse? Do you struggle with any type of drug use? Do you have a long-term drug use? Is drug use the reason for your homelessness? Do you engage in risky behavior? Do you have sex for money? So we are asking very intimate, very personal questions when we do the VI SPDAT. When you do the VI SPDAT, you want to make sure that you are in a comfortable place that offers privacy. So you want to sit somewhere. I know sometimes location can be scarce. Office space is scarce in some of your organizations. So sit outside or just find a quiet place where you can ask these questions. And the other thing is that you're meeting this person probably for the first time and you're asking them if they have sex for money. You know, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for them. They don't know you. They don't trust you. And why are you asking me this? You know, this is very, very intimate questions. A lot of times there's going to be a lot of embarrassment or shame associated with the questions, and they're not the truth. They're not going to say, yeah, do it all the time. You know, they're not going to be honest with it. And so you want to make sure that when you're asking the questions, you're not leading them into the answers. You're not advising them how to answer it, and you let them know. If you don't want to answer any question, you don't have to answer the questions. You know, I'm here to help you. I'm here to assist. I know these are personal questions, but this will help you in the long run. Please be as truthful as you can and make sure not to lead them into answering yes. We don't discuss exactly what we're looking for. We want to make sure that we tell them this is going to assist with housing. We want to assess your vulnerability, but we don't say actual partnership in HMIS for your housing, and we're not going to lead them. We want to make sure that the answers are coming from them directly. So take your time with it, be patient, and use your skills, use your motivational interviewing skills. Yes, your question.
During the intake process, they're answering these questions without us.
Yes, yes. That is very true. Sometimes, so the comment, it was they're answering the questions without even really thinking about it. But that's where it's our job as interviewers to really have a conversation rather than just reading the questions like an intake or an interview. I'm not going to go through and read, when was the last time you went to the hospital? Do you have sex for money? Do you engage in dangerous behavior? Do you sell your medication? I'm not going to ask those questions that way. You need to be sympathetic to the situation. You need to understand that they're going to answer that way because they don't trust you. They don't know you. And it's your job to make them trust you, to help build that trust. So take your time with it, take your time with them, make it a conversation, avoid leading them into answering a certain way. And, sometimes pick up on cues, because the other thing that really kind of irritates sometimes, and I know I get irritated if I'm calling someone and they're asking me the same question multiple times. So if I'm having a conversation with them to get started and they mentioned to me before that they just got out of jail, and the question on the BI-SPDAT asks, have you been in jail or prison in the last 60 days or 6 months? I already know that answer because they just came out of jail. So I'm not going to ask them the question. I might say, just to confirm, you were in jail or prison in the last 60 days, but I'm not going to ask them when they just told me 5 minutes ago. The other thing is, a lot of times they could be under the influence while they're doing this, or mental health needs come into play sometimes. So again, we just need to be very mindful when we're completing the assessment. Why do we use the BI-SPDAT? It is a system-wide tool needed to help guide the right household to the right support and prevention at the right times in their homelessness. So like we saw in the other picture, the other display there, the orange dot went to the orange house. It has an objective approach to assess needs for housing and life stability based upon evidence. Moved away from first come, first serve approach to service delivery. Most frequently used triage, assessment, and case management tools in North America and Australia. I will say that there's been a lot of discussion lately about moving away from the BI-SPDAT, and so that is an ongoing conversation. For those of you who have attended the coordinated entry meetings, that's been an ongoing discussion, and we continue to have that. So there might be some changes along the way. So again, why do we use the BI-SPDAT? Help prioritize who gets served next and why. So then we are able to use their score to prioritize the most vulnerable, and it helps teams to allocate their time. So you're able to go through the process and allocate resources as needed and your time. So once we've completed the BI-SPDAT, they are prioritized on our community's prioritization list. And these are the priorities that were established by the Housing Committee here and the COC. And this is how we determine the most vulnerable. So again, once the BI-SPDAT is completed, they're processed on the match list and prioritized. So for our homeless match list, first priority is going to be our chronically homeless person that has been homeless for 12 consecutive months, or 3 by 4, that equals to 12 months, and has a chronic disability. Those are going to go in our top priority, and those are going to be matched to a resource before anyone else. And then we even I'll go into that just a little bit more. Second priority is they are not chronic. We have not determined chronicity, but they have a disability and they received a score of 9 or greater on their BI-SPID-ACT. Third priority, not chronic, with a disability and a score of 8 or less. Fourth priority is going to be a person with a disability enrolled in a transitional housing program such as CBAS program. Fifth priority is going to be everyone else. So they are not chronic and there's no disability on file. That doesn't mean that they can't be chronic and they can't have a disability. We just haven't verified it yet. So if you have a new client coming in, you've done their assessment, and you're working with them to establish chronicity and you're working with them to establish the disability, they're going to be in the fifth priority until we can get those documents established. Now, every week, I don't know how many of you receive the match list, but every week a new list comes out, and it's sent out to all the agencies for updates. It is very vital and very important that we receive those updates, because without those updates, your client will not be prioritized and will not be matched to housing subsidy. So when you get that list, please make sure you're updating your clients and sending that in so that they can get access to services. Now, our at-risk prioritization list, we have first priority is going to be a court-ordered eviction. So they have their 60-day, 30-day notice to vacate, or a 3-day pay or quit. And our second priority lacks a permanent nighttime residence. So couch surfing, staying in a motel or hotel paid by self, and or staying with family or friends. And once we get into like the priorities and we get them determined in what, like if they're first, second, or third priority, they're still prioritized in that group. So I can have someone who's chronically homeless. Let's say I have 3 people who are chronically homeless. Now, who do we determine who's going to be first? So we take their BI-SPID-ACT score, so the highest score, and we take length of time homelessness, so how long have they been homeless, and we take the date that they were entered and put on the list. So if I have 3 people that all scored 10, and I have one person, let's say we have 2 people who have been homeless for 12 months and they scored a 10, and then the third person scored a 10, but has only been homeless for 8 months. So who's going to be prioritized? So I'm going to look at the 2 that have been homeless for 12 months. I'm going to look at the time and the date that they were entered into, or their assessment was done. So the person who had their assessment completed first is going to be number 1. The second person will fall under that, and then the person with the lowest length of time homeless will be at the bottom of that list. So when your clients are saying, I've been on this list for, 8 months and haven't had anything, this is why. It's because we are updating and prioritizing every week. Every week we're adding new people on. We're looking at their vulnerability score. We're looking at their length of time homelessness and when they were entered and their SPID-ACT completed. And that's how they're getting prioritized. So I might have been in 2nd place last week, but then now this week I'm in 10th place because I had 9 other people come in and bump me down. So that's the reason why they keep going up and down. And that does it. Any questions? Okay, well, thank you so much. My contact information is up there. Most of you either already have it or communicate daily with Joseph. He is out sick, that's why you get me today. But Joseph's information is up there as well. And I will be sending this slide deck out in an email after we're done here. So you'll get all of the slides as well. All right, thank you, everyone.
All right, let's give her another hand. That was a great job. How many learned something new today? Okay. All right. How many don't feel so overwhelmed right now with everything? Especially the new people who just started, right? And so this is just some great information. We're going to move on right now, and after we're done with this next presentation, we'll take a break. I'll be back up to kind of give you instructions on what we're going to do and all that. But let's bring up Mark McKinney from the Open Door Network, and he's going to walk us through diversion, all right, and tell you what that's all about. Okay, here we go, Mark.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Mark McKinney. I'm the Housing Navigation Manager at the Open Door Network. On the union side, we have two sides, both DHS and union. I'm here today to give you the diversion, sorry about that, diversion assessment training, and I'm really nervous. I've given presentations before, but this is the biggest group I've had. So with diversion training, with diversion program, we've been running this over at the Open Door Network, and the goal of the diversion program is, so these are our objectives. We want you, with this training, we want you to understand the diversion program, learn the best practices for the diversion program, and also to learn how to utilize the tool in, as it is in HMIS.
Lead that. We want to make sure that.
Okay, what is diversion? So diversion is an approach that helps households quickly identify and access resources that resolve their immediate housing crisis in an alternative to entering the homeless response system. So the goal with diversion is to have people not have to go into the system, the CES and all that kind of stuff, and not have to go into the shelters. Hopefully we can divert that homelessness with our natural resources and stuff like that and get them diverted. We also have some
That's
on stuff that we'll go over later. If a client does come through and they're a part of diversion, it does not deny them to our homeless system or shelters or resources that have expanding, rather it expands on the household's natural pool of resources. So in other words, if they come through diversion and they're still in crisis, they can still use all the other services that are provided by the CES and everything else. Some of the services that we provide, or some of the things we like to go over, is creative problem solving, conversation to identify solutions to immediate housing crisis. So when you're doing a diversion tool, you want to have a conversation with them, and our diversion specialists are always going over all the things that we can do to assist that client to avert their housing crisis. One of the things we do is connect to families and natural support. So if they have family out of town, we might be able to, instead of having them homeless here, we can send them back out, back to Texas or something like that and get them back to where they're not homeless. We have strength-based case management, and that's where our case managers work with them one-on-one as they're a part of the diversion program and connect them with resources. Housing placement. Usually people come into diversion, and some clients come into diversion and they're already approved for housing. So we place them in housing. We can pay all their moving costs and get all that situated so we can get them in the housing. Landlord and tenant mediation. So some of the clients that we get, they have back pay on their rent, or they're having problems with their landlord. We can step in, we can have a conversation with the landlords, try to mediate that, and try to make sure that they're not going to lose their housing or pay the back pay on their arrears and get them settled in. Connection to mainstream resources. Sometimes it may be just that they need food, right? And so they don't have the resources for that. So we can call over, help them get signed up for CalFresh, get them set up, help them with our warehouse. We have food there, or set up with gleaners or somewhere else that provides food. Sometimes it's just as simple as that, right? But we always look at all the options that we have. And at legal services, we always recommend and can help the clients with a little bit of knowledge that we have about legal services, but we can also help them get connected with GBLA so that they can get legal services as far as housing. Credit repair. The stuff that we do, we pay off their, like they might be about to be evicted, we can pay those arrears off, get them settled. That helps build their credit. Okay, financial services. So these are some of the services we can assist with as far as financial services. We can, like we went over earlier, we can do arrears. We can also pay utility arrears. Sometimes we'll have clients come in and they've got a 3-day pay or quit on their utilities, right? 48-hour notice, and they're about to get their power shut off, which will end up leading to homelessness. So we can step in and we can pay those arrears and get them situated. Moving costs and move-in costs. So if the client's got arrears and they're being evicted, they've been served a court order, and they found housing somewhere else, we can help them to move, to a different location if they're approved for, and we can also help them with move-in costs. Sometimes clients have a job and they're able to, work, but they don't have that first month's rent and deposit, and maybe they're behind on the utilities. We can help with all of those as far as move-in costs to get them moved in. Transportation costs. Sometimes people come in and they're like, you know what? I've got a job, I've got the money, and I've got a place, but I have no way to get to my job. So we can pay for a Get Bus Pass, right? We can assist them with that, so that diverts them from being homeless. Car repairs goes under transportation too. We've had clients come in and same thing. They've got a job, they're working, but their car is broke down. We can step in, we can assist with the repairs of the car to get them all set up and then back on their feet so they revert them from homelessness. Rental subsidiaries and arrears. We can pay the back pay on their rent. We can help with like 1 or 2 months if they've just lost a job and they've got another job and they just started working, and it might take a month or 2 before they're able to pay their rent on their own. We can step in and assist with that to get them once again back on their feet and avert their housing crisis. We went over the food assistance earlier, but what we try to do is we try to connect them with food and get them back on their feet and get them with services so that they're long-term, they're their housing crisis. Examples of diversion. A household is contacted one of our access points for shelter, and after a screening, it's determined household is eligible to use their temporary housing assistance through the Department of Human Services. A warm handoff is conducted to confirm the household can utilize these services the same day. So this is just an example of something we would do to avert somebody's housing crisis. Another one is the household is currently couch surfing, being here and there with friends or family. They contact one of their access points for housing services. Their goal is to find a place of their own. They do not have a notice to vacate, but they know they cannot afford the first month's rent and the deposit. So they've been asking, and they're being asked to leave from their wherever they're staying. Household states they need this assistance. After careful discussion and planning with the client, that's when we will maybe put them on the FEMA wait list, right? So that we know we can get that funding once they found the house, and then once they're approved, then then they'll be able to move in with that FEMA assistance. On the access points, I just wanted to go over. So the people that are doing the diversion tools, Our goal with the diversion tool is you want to have the discussion with the client and make sure that they are, diversion would be correct for them. So as you're doing the diversion tool, you want to ask the questions, which I'll go over, and if the client, if they've got an income, if this is going to be a one-time assistance that gets them back on their feet, then you want to complete the diversion tool. If it's not going to put them back on their feet and they need ongoing assistance, then you guys are going to need to do a QRT. Send a QRT in. Don't do both, right? Because they don't need ongoing assistance. They don't need a QRT done. They just need a diversion tool. Diversion tool will get them to us. We'll try to get them on their feet. If for some reason that falls apart in between them being with us, we'll send in the QRT and get them with ongoing assistance. Before you get started, always assess the household safety. If entering a shelter is the only safe and viable option, the household should not be diverted, right? So if they're on the street, they might have a 3-month-old baby.
Our community.
Maybe they're approved for housing, but it's going to take a month or two for them to get in. Then we want to get them in the house or into an emergency shelter, right? We want the safety comes first when it comes to our plan. Always look the household up in HMIS. Often the household is already linked to a program, and although you may still be able to provide diversion and allow them to self-resolve, you need to case conferences with that provider wherever they're at that shelter. Maybe they're already signed up for the housing program that's going to better fit their needs. So you want to check HMIS, make sure that they're already linked with a program that's going to be assisting them. All right, this is the diversion tool. So I'm going to go to this side. So when you do the diversion tool, you want to follow it, guide by, just read through it with the client. If you're at an access point, you get this diversion tool, somebody calls in, they need diversion, you think it's right for them. You're going to go through this questionnaire here. So you want to begin the script and explain to them to determine what services may be available to you. I will collect some basic information about your current situation. This information is confidential and only be used to assist you with appropriate resources. You may refuse any questions, to answer any questions, but by doing so might mean your referral to available resources might best help you in your current station. We might not be able to link you with those. Do we have permission to collect information? You always want to ask this because you don't want later for them to say that they didn't give that permission. And then you go on to the next question. Do you have a permission to have a referral, to make a referral on your behalf to agencies that may be able to assist you? That would be if we can assist them with CalFresh, stuff like that. We need to be able to communicate with them to get them linked up with those services. Do you have permission to enter the information we provided in HMIS? This is really important because we are going to do an assessment and they will HMIS. They just won't have a QRT done, right? So that the QRT is linking them with ongoing assistance. Universal data requirements, these here. So these are important to ask. You want to make sure that you get the client's name right and it's legible. Sometimes we get diversion tools over there and we can't find them on HMIS because the name or we can't read it. So that's really important. The date of birth, the agency that's referring, the staff name, social security number, and all that stuff needs to be added on here. Please try to write legible when you do that. Introductory questions. Sorry, I need a drink of water. Okay.
You dropped mine.
And I dropped the other one. I'm on a roll today. Okay, so introductory questions. So you want to ask these questions when you're going to enter this into HMIS, or whoever's going to enter this into HMIS will need these questions answered. To the household, where did you stay last night? You just ask them where they slept last night, right? And you're going to go off the best answer here that fits their description. In a hospital, living with a family or friend, jail or prison, they might have just got released, juvenile detention facility, in a hotel or motel, or treatment abuse facility, in a foster care group or home, in your own house. You may own it. We can assist sometimes with those situations too. In a car on the street, in your own housing for a rental, in other housing not meant for habitation. You want them to define what other housing is. We need to know where that is. If currently homeless, immediately discuss options for resolution such as, but not limited to, emergency shelters, family reunification, substance abuse treatment facilities, etc. And temporary hotel stays. So I just want to go over family reunification. We can help somebody that's homeless go to Texas. But we have to call Texas first and make sure they've got somewhere to go. We're just not going to ship people somewhere to be homeless there.
Just make sure you're updating your clients and sending
And stuff like that to relocate them.
that in, so that they
To the staff, if the household is homeless with resolution and a resolution was made, then you're going to stop right here, right? You already did a resolution, you're going to get them into a shelter or something like that. But right here on number 2, to the staff, if the household is homeless, what resolution was made, you're going to answer that here, and then that will be it. You're done with the homeless thing. If you solve the problem. To the household, what brought you to your housing crisis? You may select one or more problems with the landlord. You want to ask with specific issue, use this to determine what mediation or conflict resolution it may be. Maybe it's something that we can call GBLA and get it cleared up with them, and they don't even need further assistance. If they have a rental or a utility arrears, circle which one. If yes, their estimated amount at that time, eviction or in process of being evicted, private dwelling or housing provided by, next please. We'll cut off. Okay, victim of a foreclosure or rental property, and living in a house that has been condemned, excuse me, that was carried over, unable to pay their rent, experiencing high overcrowding, at risk of becoming homeless due to COVID-19 related housing crisis, violence or abuse occurring in the family's household. If an immediate danger, refer to the law enforcement or appropriate local domestic violence provider. If they say they're living in a house and the person knows where they're at, or they're in danger, please advise them. We would advise them, or you would advise them to contact the Alliance Against Family Violence, which is now the Open Door Network also. To the household, if you are currently housed or in temporary living situation, what type of assistance would you need to resolve your immediate housing crisis? So with this, you're asking them what assistance they may need. That helps us to know right off the bat where they're at the time we get the referral. And then you would just circle whichever one fits their need. Through careful planning and discussion, we're going to be determining if a client is able to utilize community resources to stay in their current living situation. Help family think through potential places with family, friends, co-workers, have them identify what barriers they think exist to stay in a current location and have them how they might overcome that. So another situation that might happen, maybe they're living in a place and they don't have the money, they're barely paying their rent, if they don't have furniture, maybe we can link them with CityServe, right, and get them furnished, or with our warehouse. Those are the kind of incidents we can help with. To staff, if you are unable to create a resolution for a household housing crisis, please complete a quick reference tool for at risk at this point, right? Another one would be if you're not able to help them, if they need ongoing assistance, then you would do the QRT. But if they're at risk and say they're behind on their rent, but they don't have an income, they don't have a job lined up, then they need ongoing assistance. They need a QRT setting. A diversion tool is not going to work. In fact, it's going to prolong or cause them to be, because if we're going to get the diversion tool, we're going to contact them, that's going to be 2 or 3 more weeks before we figure out, right, hopefully it'll be sooner than that. and then they're going to be even in more of a crisis. So we want to not send people to diversion that need ongoing assistance. Next, please. So HMIS. This is entering assessment in HMIS. So not everybody has access to HMIS here, but I am going to go over this for the people that do, so that they'll know how to do this. The first thing you want to do, of course, is pull up the client's name, check to make sure they're not with another program, they're not already getting assistance from somebody else. We can't help with diversion or arrears on something that another organization has helped with. So if they've got a voucher and they didn't pay their portion for 3 months, and that's what they owe as far as arrears, we can't help with that, because that's double dipping, right? We can't assist where somebody else has already assisted. So if they're in that case, I've heard that the Salvation Army may be able to help with those, but you can always email me and we can navigate through that. So for coordinated entry assessment in HMIS, you're going to enter the client's name in, make sure it's in by the date of birth off the diversion tool, and then you're going to click programs. Under the section programs available, select coordinated entry project, which will be right here. And then here you'll see select enrollment, and the enrollment tabs right down here. So you're going to click enrollment, and then next please. Then you're going to answer these questions. Preferably you want to do this with the client there with you, so that you can make sure these questions are answered correctly. But sometimes we're going to get diversion tools that need to be answered later. That's why all those questions on the diversion tool are important to be answered. You want to answer the questions in the enrollment program for client screening enrollment program for the client. So you want to do this project start date is going to be the date that you're entering it, right? You're going to enter the place where they stayed last night. This has got to match the diversion tool. How many days they stayed there. You want to have that conversation with them. If they've been there if they've been homeless for over a year, then they may be chronic, right? They might need more assistance. Approximate date homeless started, so you want to ask them when they actually started with this incident of being homeless. Number of times in the streets, in emergency shelters or safe havens in the past 3 years. You want to have that conversation. Those are when they're out, and then back to homelessness and back, which be the incidences. Total number of months homeless on the street in emergency shelters or safe havens in the past 3 years. So you want to add all those months together. So in the last 3 years, maybe they were homeless twice. The first time for 6 months and the next time for 3. That's going to be a total of 9 months. If they have a disabling condition, you're just going to answer yes or no here. You're going to save, close, and then within the program enrollment.
After we're done here. So
this would be assessment of next week of the assessment diversion tool assessment. And scroll down, click diversion tool down here. Push start. Next. And then fill out the virtual form. Once completed, click save at the bottom. So you're going to go through and ask these questions. Assessment date. Once again, this is going to be today's date. Determine what services may be available to you. How would we need to collect some of the basic information? This is the conversation we'll have with the client about their current situation. This information is confidential and will only be used to assist you in accessing appropriate resources. You may refuse to answer the questions, but by doing so, you may mean you will not be referred to available resources. And you want to have to ask these questions.
You were hand, that was a great job.
On your behalf of agencies, they've already asked these. So honestly, you can just, if they've already answered them yes on the diversion tool, you can put them in. Where did you stay last night? This has got to match the last 2 answers or questions before that. Next, please. Once the diversion tool form has been completed, you will provide service within the CE program enrollment. Next to assessment, click on provide services. So provide services next to assessment. Next, please. And you're within the provide services, select that arrow to next coordinated entry event. Then click the arrow next to the problem solving, diversion, rapid solution, intervention, or service. So you're going to click here and then here. Next, please. And then here's where you're going to enter in the services that were provided. Event date, what client housing located in the safe alternative. You're going to put yes or no, and then you're going to kind of list a brief description of how we have assisted them. That is something that we're probably going to be doing on our side as part of the services. We're working on that right now to get those entered in as we go. Next, please. Okay, so is there any questions or comments? Okay.
I'm at a school site.
Okay.
You talked about access points for the parent or for the people that need the help.
Yeah.
What would you like? We don't have access to the tools that you have presented today.
Yeah.
What access points would you recommend us
So
referring to?
You can call our shelter. If you have a pen, you can write down the number. It's 661-716-1020. And right now, Christy Loya is doing our access point for the diversion, and her extension is 150. So you can have the client call them, or you can call them and assist the client, and they can get a diversion tool sent in through that route. If you don't have the tool or have access to it.
You can also have them call 211. And they'll get through coordinated entry, and they'll do the diversion tool as well, and then once they do the tool, they'll send it to the Open Door Network.
That's usually what we do. Dial 211 for any other questions. Thank you.
Any other questions?
How many times can they use this? Is it like one time a year? Is it just one time?
Diversion's one time a year. But once again, if they use diversion, they still can use other services. You know, it's not like you've used diversion, now you can't get further assistance. Yes, they can still get other assistance, but diversion is once a year.
Once a year, 12 months, right?
12 months, yes. Any other questions? Okay.
I know that you said like you guys exist with that you guys exist with
Yeah.
that's just in Kern, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. If they're from out of the county, we would have to refer them to that county's access point and assist. Antonio.
When you talk about moving costs, does that include like any area you haul for moving your stuff?
That could, yes. That is definitely something. If it falls under the moving cost and we can document that they needed that, that is something we can assist with. We've also helped with in the past when we pay off the arrears, if the landlord has already paid the eviction fees, we can reimburse the landlord with that. So we, so then, because sometimes the landlord's like, I've already paid $600. I'm evicting them anyway. So we're like, hey, we can pay you back that. And they're like, well, I'm getting all my money back. We'll give them a chance. So hopefully the client will use that chance to continue staying in the house and they're that.
What if somebody's already used the diversion tool like 6 months ago or 4 months ago and they have car problems and they're still struggling financially trying to keep everything in balance? Are they able to contact you guys for car assistance?
It would be a one twist. So diversion is a one-time assistance. So it's not a one-time payment, but it's a one-time incident. So hopefully we get you set up and back on track, with that one-time assistance. If you feel like you're going to need ongoing assistance, please let us know. We'll get a QRT sent in. We'll get you linked up with the ongoing assistance. Something I didn't say earlier also. So when you send in a QRT, a diversion tool, please send it to the diversion at opendoorhelps.org. You'll CC me, Mark McKinney. I've got cards if you need that. at opendoorhelps.org. You're going to CC Data at opendoorhelps.org and Erica Moss at opendoorhelps.org. We check that email and then we go in the route that we've received those diversion tools. When you send in a diversion tool, if the client needs immediate assistance, because sometimes we get a lot of referrals or a lot of diversion tools at once, and we have to go in order. But if somebody's about to lose housing and it's like right now, and it's an emergency situation, please put that in the email. We will follow up and we will jump into the front of the line to get them so they don't end up losing housing. Yes.
With the car situation that you have with the car, this is the registration mentions.
Yes, ma'am, it could. If that's causing you to become into a housing crisis where you may lose housing, then yes, we would be in the system. I'm pretty sure, we haven't done that yet, we have to get that cleared, but I'm pretty sure if that's a situation, please send the diversion tool in.
Does the car have to be registered and dirty?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, the same thing with utility arrears. If somebody's living in a place and the arrears are in some, if PG&E is in somebody else's name, we're not going to be able to pay that. It's got to be, we've got to be able to document that that client is the one getting the assistance. If now, in that situation, if their roommate that's living and is on the lease with them is living there, it's in their name, then yes, we could probably assist with that, because it would show that we were assisting that client with diverting housing crisis. Any other questions?
I'm working with a youth that has like housing set up, but they need something now for their couch surfing. Do they talk with you guys? Is it like a hotel?
We haven't done a hotel voucher. That is something I would have to check into, but I think we may possibly be able to do that. If we can prove that that hotel voucher is going to, once again, avert that housing crisis, that current need, right? We don't want to pay for a hotel and then 2 weeks later, they still need services, right? If they're in that type of situation, we're going to link them with DHS so we can get them with the temporary housing assistance hotel, and then now we'll get them in the system and get them set up with long-term assistance. Okay, any other questions?
Information on where to send to the CC, the diversion.
Right, say that again.
Who did CC for the diversion tool?
Okay, so it'd be diversion tool. You want to email diversion tool at opendoorhelps.org, and then CC Erica Moss, me, so it'd be Erica E Moss, opendoorhelps.org, data, opendoorhelps.org, and me, Mark, or M McKinney, opendoorhelps.org. And I've got cards. If somebody wants one, I can hand these out. And if you guys have any questions or anything like that, you can always email me. Any other questions? Okay, I think that ends the presentation.
All right. Well, thank you, Mark. Let's give him another hand. That was an awesome job. And we're going to take a short break right now for about 15 minutes or so. And so right now it is 10:18. So let's see. Let's be back in here at 10:40. Let's say 10:40. Okay. We'll be back in here by 10:40. So restrooms are in the back. There's water back there. If you need to run, go do something. You got about 15 minutes or so. And when we come back, one thing before you go, if you haven't done this, we need you to sign in on the sign-in sheet because we're keeping track of everybody who is here so we can get you a certificate of being in this class, but you can use that for your own records and for any credits and stuff that you need.
Storage It's like, on one side, but the other side is like Christmas. I think it's fine.
All right. Looks like there's a few people at Starbucks still. We're going to go ahead and get started though. So we're going to have a presentation on the HMIS. Now, HMIS stands for Homeless Management Information System. It's a very important part of our CoC. It's how we get a lot of the funds to come in to do the work that all the different agencies do in our collaborative. Okay, just a couple announcements that I want to bring up too. So after this, we will have lunch, and they tell me we got Jersey Mike's coming. So don't leave before you get lunch, right? And then hang around. We're going to eat. We can have lunch together, and then we'll have some closing comments and all that at the end. Just a little bit about the schedule. So the full schedule, I got the full schedule of all of our sessions. I have them on the back table back there on the left. And just to tell you what's coming up. So in February 23rd, I think I mentioned that's our next one. And we're going to start with, we have some sensitivity awareness, and that's going to be taught by Traco Matthews and Dr. Alaya Kaiser-Varala. Then you heard a little bit about Housing First, so we're going to actually get training on what Housing First is and how we use it. And also on PAD mission. So that's coming up on February 23rd. And then later on, some things coming up. We're going to have harm reduction, trauma-informed care, ACE. Anybody ever know anything about ACE? Okay. So we're going to be on that. That stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. And most of our clients that we work with have probably had those experiences in their life. We'll have a session on motivational interviewing.
To vacate, but they know they.
May 25th, de-escalation. How many know that we deal with the people that we do, things can get escalated pretty quickly? How can we keep them from being escalated? How can we de-escalate people? This is excellent training. In fact, all of our staff at the mission, we've gone through this a couple different times. And so that is good. Then we'll have a thing on progressive engagement, and Flood will be teaching that. And then some more unsensitive. We're going to have domestic violence training. We're going to have fair housing training. We're going to have anti-discrimination training. We're going to have volunteerism, community service, all kinds of things. And then if you come to so every one of these that you come to, like I said, make sure you sign in. And if your name didn't get on there, we apologize, but at least write it in there, what agency you are. And what we want to do is keep track of everybody who's been to these sessions, and each one you get a certificate. But those who go through it all will have special recognition, okay? And we're going to have a big closeout celebration in October. And so it's going to be a great time. Are we having a good time so far? And again, just want to thank DHS for hosting us and providing this great facility. The BKRHC for providing the notebooks, the lunch, and all the water and everything. And I forgot to mention, we had a great committee that put together all these trainings. And if you're on that committee and you're here, can you stand so we can recognize you? I know, Rebecca, you were there. Who else? Okay. And all right, thank you. And anyway, without any further ado, I want to bring up from Kern Behavioral Health and Recovery Services, Shubhangi, Shrivastava, and Arash. All right, and they're going to take us through the Homeless Management Information System training. So let's give them a hand as they come.
Is it
the window? Yeah.
this one?
And then just look at the screen. There's presentation. You can look at
I'm sorry.
the little window with the recording. You can lower that.
Oh.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the HMIS user training. I'm Shubhangi Shrivastava from Kern Behavioral Health and Recovery Services, and along with me, I have Arash Sidhu, the HMIS lead, and from Kern Behavioral Health and Recovery Services. Yeah. So I will be covering the HMIS introduction, and later on Arash will start with the HMIS demo and training. So what is HMIS? The HMIS stands for the Homeless Management Information System. Basically, it's a data system which is used to collect, record, and analyze the services and housing data for individuals and the families, those who are facing homelessness or are at the risk of the homelessness. And you can say that we collect client level and the system level data. And to collect, record, and analyze all this data, we have a software called Clarity Human Services by BitFocus. So BitFocus is the company which provides us HMIS software called Clarity Human Services. And this HMIS system, Clarity Human Services, is a secure system where every or many agencies enter their clients' data, and if any agencies or provider wants to be a part of the HMIS, they need to sign these 3 documents. First is MOU, data sharing agreement, and end user agreement. So all these 3 agreements are very mandatory to be signed before accessing any data in the HMIS. So there are the 2 types of data collection occurs in the HMIS. As you can see, the right side of the slide says the universal data element, which actually collects unique and unduplicated clients record, like we can say name, social security, date of birth, race, ethnicity, gender, veteran status. Then we have disabling condition, project start date, project end date, then destination, relationship to the house of the head of the household, client location, housing moving date, and current living situation. So all those data in the HMIS come under the universal data element. On the other hand, we have program-specific data element. So program-specific data element especially emphasize on the characteristic of the client, the services the agency provides to the client, and the outcome of those services, like housing status, income sources, non-cash benefits, health insurance, physical disability, developmental disability, chronic health condition, HIV, AIDS, mental health condition, and there are so many other fields which comes under the program-specific data elements, which we can be discussed in the demo later on. So these are the main features of the HMIS. First is configurability, assessment, program enrollment, client level reports, HUD and federal partner reports, and custom reports. Now, configurability means if suddenly, let's take an example. Tomorrow CSC wants to add some field or some logic to the client's profile. That in HMIS system, we can easily customize and configure those fields into the client's profile. Then we have assessment. So all the VISP assessment and the scoring pattern process are already built in the HMIS Clarity system. We have then program enrollment. If the agencies or the providers are the part of the HMIS, then they can easily enroll any client in any program and go to the any referral process. Then we have client level report. Similarly, if an agency or provider is a part of the HMIS, they can easily generate any client's report, client's history, client case note, or any document which is already uploaded in the HMIS, they can easily generate. Then HUD and federal partner reports. So there are around 175 plus reports which are already built in the HMIS, in the report library of the HMIS. So all those reports is being used by FERD and federal partners. Then we have custom report. So suppose any agency wants to generate any custom report for their agency or for CoC needs, then we can add those custom reports in their report library, and they can easily process those reports. So this is the training instance. This is the link through which every new HMI user has to go for the training. And for that, I would call Arash so he can start with the HMIS demo. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shubhangi. So this is the, let me, can I use both? Okay, so to manage HMIS, the software that we use is called Clarity Human Services. That's the name of the software. I'm gonna go ahead and log into the software. So this is the software that we use to manage HMIS. And when you log in, this is the default page or the home page. This is the page that you will be using to search for the clients or to add new clients in the system. Okay. So first I'll go over the navigation of the software. You have this top black ribbon where you'll see your agency name. And most users, they have access to two different agencies, which is one of them is their primary agency, and then they also have access to CAPK. So whenever you are doing data entry, make sure you are under the right agency. If you're doing data entry for CES, make sure you are under CAPK. Or if you are doing data entry for your primary agency, make sure you're under that agency only. So now I just switched my agency from system to Bethany services. And this is the training instance. We do not have all the agencies set up in training, but in the live system, we have, I think, 27 different agencies that have access to HMIS. And for those 27 agencies, we have around 150 users who use HMIS. Okay, so on the top ribbon, on the right-hand side, you have these 9 squares. We call it App Launcher. This is the button that you can click on if you have to navigate to different pages. Let's say you want to go to Reports Library, click on the App Launcher, and then click on Reports icon to go to the Reports Library. And these are all the reports that Shubhangi was talking about. They are grouped by different categories. We have data quality reports. We have service-based reports. We have program-based reports. And then we have HUD reports also. So these are all the reports. And to run them, you just have to click on the Run button next to the report name. And then so let me run this report for you, the data quality report. This is the report that we encourage users to run weekly so they can look at the quality of the data that they have. So to run the report, select your agency name. Let's say I want to run a report for Bethany Services. And again, it's a training instance. We may not have data for that, but I'm going to try. Next is CoC number, which is default. Program type, you have option to filter the report by different project type. So if you just want to run the report for, let's say for emergency shelter, click on this. And then it's going to show you all the programs that are set up under an emergency shelter. So I'm going to select all so we can see all the programs that are set up in the training instance. Again, you have option to run the report for just one program, or you can select more than one program, or you can also click on all to run the report for all the programs. And next is the start date and the end date for the report. So let's say if we want to look at data for last year, I'm going to select start date as 1st of January. And then end date would be 31st of December last year. Now, the next option is a report output format. We train users to run the report in web page first, because in web page you have option to click on the numbers and drill down to the numbers. So
Further assistance.
if you see any data quality issues, you should be able to click on the number, see client ID, and then fix those issues. And once you are satisfied with your data, you can run it in PDF or Excel if you have to email the report to someone. So I'm going to click on submit. Once we run the report, we're going to see a new icon over here on the top ribbon. That's our reports library. It's going to show you status of all the reports that you ran, and the reports stay here for 24 hours. Once we run the report, it's going to take a few minutes to run. So while this report is pending, I'm going to go over to other navigation features. Next to App Launcher, you have this message icon. This is a secure way to send message to users within your agency and to users for other agencies also. And to send a message, you just click on new message, select the agency that you want to send message to. And once you select the agency, you'll see all the users who are set up for that agency. So just select user, type in your message. Once you send a message, the user will receive an email saying they have a new message, but they won't be able to view the message in the email. They have to log into Clarity to view that actual message. Okay, so let's check if the report is ready. The report is ready. I'm going to click on this open link to open the report. And this data quality report, it's going to show you all the numbers. It's going to break down the numbers by different categories. So last year, they served 48 clients. Out of those 48, 38 were adults, 10 children. Number of leavers. Leavers are the one who left the program within the report date. Stayers are the ones that are still enrolled in the program. So they had 43 stayers, 5 leavers, and then number of veterans, number of youth. So it does break down all the numbers by different categories. And the data quality section that we have to focus on is this one. So as you can see, there are 9 clients who have who refuse to give their social security number. And again, the data quality, all the reports that we run, the system-wide report is based on the data that you enter in HMIS. So if we have missing information, if we have a client refused, that's a data quality issue, because now next time when you see the same client, you won't be able to search the client by their social security number. So you may end up adding a new profile for the same client, and that's going to affect all the numbers, all the reports. But sometimes clients do not have social security number, or they don't remember. In that case, our CoC gave us a margin that we can have 6% missing information. Like over here, it's showing up as 31% missing information, which is a data quality issue. It has to be below 6%. And the reason I told you to run the report in web page, because now you can click on any number. So let's say if I click on number 6, it's going to show me all the test clients in the training instance who have some data quality issue with their SSN. So either the SSN is not valid number, that's why it's showing up as a data issue. There's one client who refused to give their name. So it says refused and then a unique number. There are 9 clients who have some issue with their race and ethnicity. 9 clients who have information missing for gender. And again, all these percentages, it has to be below 6% because it does affect all the reports that goes to Board of Supervisors, the reports that goes to city officials. It's based on the data that you enter in HMIS. There are some data quality issue with the relation to head of household. And again, the percentage is 4%, which is okay. But there are 5 clients who have some data quality issue with the disabling condition. And the percentage is above 10%, so which is a data quality issue. And again, you can click on the number, see client IDs, go back to Clarity, search that client and try to fix that information. Okay, there are 28 clients who are missing annual assessment, and the error percentage is 100%, which is again data quality issue. Either they are missing the annual assessment because every client, if they are enrolled in a program for more than 1 year, they are required to have annual assessment. And the annual assessment is on the anniversary of their project start date. So it looks like these clients started in 2018 and they are still open, but they do not have an annual assessment. And there are more sections like chronic homeless, timeliness. Our CoC goal is to enter the data within 9 days. But over here, we do not have anything that show up over here, 11+ days, that's a data quality issue. So this is the report that we encourage users to run weekly so they can look up the data, the quality of the data that they have, and try to fix that missing information or the bad data. Going back to the navigation feature, next to message icon, you have your name and your agency dropdown. And this is the dropdown that you can click on to switch your agency from your primary agency to another agency that you have access to. So if I click on CVF, I'm now logged in under CVF. But if I'm doing data entry for Bethany services, my agency has to be Bethany services over here. Next to agency dropdown, you have your name initials and a link to sign out or log out from the system. And again, this software has clients' personal information, their demographic information, and we have to make sure we protect that client data. We do not share client information. If you have to step away from your PC, make sure you sign out or log out from the system. There is also a link for your account settings. This is the link that will take you to your profile page. Over here, you can update your password. You can change your first name, last name, email address, and you can even upload your picture. So that's your profile page for the Clarity software. Any questions so far? Okay, so this is about the top ribbon. You have this search icon that will take you to our home page or default page. You have a link for caseload that will show you all the clients that you have entered. And then there is a link to referral section that will take you to the community queue. And as Rebecca mentioned, they are the lead agency for community queue for coordinated entry system, and they manage the clients on this list. On the bottom half, you have this search box where you can search for an existing client. You also have a link to add a new client. So if the client is not in system, you can add a new client using this plus icon. And then on the right-hand side, you have your 5 most recent clients that you work with. Their name will show up over here. Next, I'm going to try to add a test client and show you how to add a client, how to do program enrollment, how to exit a client, and then do some assessments also. So the first rule of data entry is we always make sure that client is not in the database already. Because if we do not search for them, if we just add a new profile every time we see a client, we may have duplicate profiles for the same client. And that's gonna affect the reports. So, and with the search, this software has some nice features. You do not have to type in client's full name. If you just type in 3 letters of their first name or last name, system's gonna show you all the names matching that combination. So see, I type in TRA, it's showing me all the names matching that TRA combination, like Tracy, training, April, training. And you can further refine the search by adding their last name also. Now I only see 1 client. You can further verify if the client has same date of birth and last 4 of their social matches. If it's the same client, you can just click on their profile, and then it will take you to their profile page. From here, you can enroll the client, you can do assessment, you can add their contact information. And that's how you would enroll a client. So you would go to their profile, click on programs. You will see all the available programs that's set up for this agency. Click on the program name and then enroll the client. So let's say our test client name is training DHS. So I'm going to type in TRA. And I do not see a match. So now that's the only time I can click on this plus sign and add a new profile for this client. So I'm just gonna make up a social security number for this client. And anything that you select over here that's not full SSN, that's a data quality issue, and that show up in that data quality report. So let's say I selected client refused, that's a data quality issue. It has to be a full SSN. Same with the first name and last name. So I'm gonna type in your last name. And same with the name, it has to be full name. Anything other than full name, it's a data quality issue. Same with the date of birth. Middle name, that's optional. You can leave it blank, but everything other than middle name on this page is required. And for the gender, you have option to select more than 1 gender. And if you select one of these, client doesn't know.
You're going to ask them when they actually
Data quality issue. Same with the race, you have option to select more than 1 race. And these last 3 options, they affect the data quality. Same with ethnicity, but you only have 2 options, non-Hispanic and Hispanic. And then last is veteran status. This question is only for adults. If a client is minor, you won't even see this question. So let's say if I change this client to minor, now I don't even see that question here. And if you select yes over here under veteran status, more questions will pop up to verify their veteran status. And to keep it simple, I'm going to select no over here. We have filled all of their information, but we have not filled the release of information, which is the consent from the client that we're going to add their information to HMIS. And to answer that section, you have to go to the right-hand side. There's a ROI section. Under documentation, you have to upload that ROI. And then once you do that, you will see a button over here that says add record. So I'm going to say verbal consent. See, once I answer this section, now I see a button that says add record. And if I click on this button now, it's going to add a new profile for this client. And systems is also going to generate a unique ID for this client. Now, next time, if the same client goes to some other agency, if they try to search for them, their name will show up. Okay, once the profile is generated, on the right-hand side, you see this calendar icon. This is the button that you can click on. If you are working as a case manager with the client, you can add their appointments, and that will show up on your calendar. So now if I go to my calendar, click on app launcher. If I go to calendar, I'll see all the clients under my caseload who have one of the appointments set up. You also have this client privacy shield. This is the button where you can upload ROI. And let's say client gave you consent to enter their information to HMIS, but at a later date, they decide that they do not want to share their information. So then you go over here, privacy, and then toggle this button, radio button that says consent refused. Once I do that, all the identified information for this client will be replaced by system generated number. So I'm going to toggle this, save changes. Now, if I go to this client's profile, I see refuse, which is a data quality issue. But now even their first name and last name has been replaced by a system generated number.
You want to ask these questions?
Calendar, you have this reports icon. This is going to show you all the client specific report that apply to this client only. But the reports over here are system wide reports. So let's say if you have to generate an ID card for this client, you can go to the client's profile, click run, and system will generate an ID card for this client. And the other thing is, if clients come in as a family, you have to add them in HMIS as family. And to do that, you would have to create a profile for all the family members. Let's say there's a family of 5. You have to create all the profiles for all the 5 family members, and then go to head of household profile, and then add family members over here. So let's say this client is head of household. I'm going to click on manage here. And then I can either search for the family member by typing in their name, or if it's a recent client, their name will show up over here also. And to merge them as family, you would search for the family member, click on this plus sign. It's going to ask you for the relationship between these 2 clients. And these are all the options. And click Save Changes. Now, if we go to this client's profile, on the right-hand side, you see a family member. So this is how you would add a profile to HMIS. Now, if you have to, we just added a profile. We have not enrolled the client. So to enroll the client in the program, you have to go to this programs tab. You will see all the available programs that are set up for your agency. Select one of the program. It's going to show you this dashboard about how many clients are already enrolled in the program. And then option to include family member. So if clients come in as a family, you have to enroll them together as a family in HMIS. So toggle this button, click on enroll. It's going to take you to the intake page for this client. So the first section is about their prior living situation, length of stay in prior living situation, date homelessness started, number of times they were on streets, and total number of months homeless. A response to this section determine if client is chronic homeless or not, and their disabling condition also. And the next section is information about their income. If I select yes over here, I have to specify the source of income. And these are all the options. And at the bottom, it's going to show you their total monthly income. Same with the non-cash benefits. If I select yes over here, I have to specify the type of non-cash benefit that they are receiving. And then same with the health insurance. If you select yes over here, system will ask you to verify the source. And this is the intake page for the head of household. Once I click on save, I have to answer same questions for the other family member. So now we are on other family member intake page. And that's it. Once you fill all the information, click save and close. And now you have enrolled the client in your program. Now, if you click on the program tab, you'll see they are open to this program. Their start date is today. They are still active in the program, and their enrollment is a group type, which means family enrollment. And now you can provide them services. Click on program tab, go within the enrollment, click on provide services. Now, if I go to this client's history tab on top, I see they're open with this program. They have received one service. All the details will show up on this history page. There is a tab for assessments where you can do assessment. You can also add their case notes by using this notes section. You can upload files, which is like their ID card or social security card. You can add those documents under files. You can also add their contact information, which is their first name, phone number, email address. That will go under a contact tab. You can also add their location. You can either type in their address, or if you're working with a client, you can click this icon and it will add your current location as client's location. So these are all the tabs that we use to mainly the main tab that we use is program tab. That's how you would enroll a client in a program. If to provide the service, you would do that within the program tab. And once the client has left your program, you have to close their enrollment. And to do that, same process, go to programs, click on the open program, and then on the right-hand side, you see this exit button, click on it. And it's going to ask you if you want to exit both the family members or just the main client. And once you click on exit, it's going to take you to the exit workflow where it want to answer this section about their destination, which means where are they going after this program, whether they are going back to streets or you help them getting permanent housing. So their destination will go under this section. And it also wants you to answer these questions. It's already filled in. If there are any changes, you can add that. And the same questions for the other family member. So now as you can see over here on the right-hand side, the client is not active anymore. That means their enrollment has ended. So their start date was today. Their program end date is also today. So that's what we use most of the time. We enroll the client, we open their enrollment, we do close their enrollment, and then we also run these reports. Another report that we run is this annual performance report. This will show you the outcome for your program. It's going to show you all the numbers, how many clients you served, how many clients you help increase income, or whether you help client going back to permanent housing. All those details will show up in this report. And again, we run the report in web page, so we can get the option to drill down or click on the numbers. Now, if I click on this reports queue, it's going to show me that I have one report pending. And the other report that we ran earlier, data quality, it's still there. We have option to open the same report again. It's going to take a few minutes to run the report. Okay, it's ready. So now if I click on open, it's going to show me that annual performance report. Same numbers, same breakdown, number of stayers, leavers, veterans, and the data quality section is also included in this report. Number of persons served, total persons served without children, with families, only children. So it's going to break down all the numbers for you. Number of persons engaged, breakdown by gender, breakdown by age, race, ethnicity, Number of clients who have some physical or mental health conditions at start, conditions at exit, breakdown for stairs, their living situation, breakdown by cash, income, income change. This is showing you the outcome for your program, whether you help a client increase their income. That will show up under this section. Type of non-cash benefit, health insurance. So this is the report. It's called Annual Performance Report. This is a report that we submit to HUD also. All the programs, they run this report for their agency. And then they also upload that report to HUD website. So this is about the software. This is how we enroll the clients. This is how we run the reports. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So if we have a client that's staying in a safe house or a safe shelter, and it gives you the option to add their location, do we have to add the location where they're at, or can we use our residential temporary address that they use?
I think you can add address. But when you enroll the client in the program, it's going to ask you about their prior living situation, whether they came back from the streets or. So let me go here, click on programs. Their prior living situation. These are all the options that we have. But you can also add their physical address under this location tab. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to add something. If we're talking about someone who is fleeing domestic violence, we don't want to put their address in the system. And what you would do is put like you're not going to add any identifying information or the physical address. And I believe unless something has changed, it's also going to be still considered emergency shelter for DV. We don't operate safe havens here in our community. So if we have something that comes up as an exit or a placement as a safe haven, that would be a data quality error. So it would still be emergency shelter under DV.
Thank you.
And also for the DV clients, we do not add their first name or last name. We add a system generated number, I think. Any other question? Yes.
I have a question on the race and ethnicity. It's legal for them to refuse that, but in your system, it comes up as a data issue.
Yes, they can refuse the information. We cannot deny them services, but still it will affect our data quality. So like over here, if I go to this data quality report, we had 9 clients over here who have information missing for race and ethnicity. It does affect our data quality, but again, we cannot deny them services. We have to add them to HMIS.
So we can still, I guess that's where my confusion is, because it seems like those are displayed that don't know.
Yeah, that's why our CoC, they gave us a margin of 6%. So that means if we serve 100 clients, out of those 100, 6 can have that missing information. And that percentage will show up over here in this section.
Right. So we use this information, not only do we report the numbers, our APRs to HUD for our performances, when we go to reapply for funding, every year we submit this information and we're reporting, and an independent review panel reviews it and sees that there's quality issues. That might be a question, but if we see that it's from a particular agency or if there's something that we know here as a community, like this is a reason why this particular we have this error in this area, then it's something that can be accounted for with like a commentary or just like a notation, a narrative stating why this is the way it is. It could be, let's say, it's a program that is for a particular I don't even know what a program would be, but let's say they it's just this program and they're dealing with people who have experienced discrimination. I'm just making up a program. So that's something, because they're being sensitive to the clients that they're serving, that might be something that they're not trying to push, and if the client refuses, then they're just going to leave that information. Now, when we go to report and turn in this, we can provide that narrative as to why this is higher than or outside of our expected quality control. Does that help a little bit as to why? Yeah, it's just because we have to report, again, everything is reported to HUD for system performance, and then when we do the evaluations every year as our ranking panel, and that determines how the agencies are ranked for funding. Then there's that narrative portion to explain any discrepancies.
Yes.
So I work more on the administrative side of the city, so I don't actually, I don't do any entry in the system, but could y'all briefly explain how the CES and HMIS are related? They're related, right?
Yes. CAS is part of HMIS, and we manage community queue, CAPK, they manage community queue within HMIS.
So I guess the CES, do you enter here on the HMIS system?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Any other question? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Should I just leave it like this?
All right, let's give those guys a hand. Thank you. How many currently are a licensed HMIS user right now? All right, so here's where right now we have about 125 current license, because you have to have a license to use this, and they do cost money. So we're in the process of trying to secure more funding through the COC, so we can add. We're working on adding maybe up to another 100 licenses. So if you don't already have one and you need to get one, obviously get with your supervisor at work and talk about that, and then we're in the process of trying to do that. So if you can't get on right now, we want to make sure each agency has at least somebody who's on HMIS, and so that's what we're working on. And we have reached the end. All right, so we're done a little bit early. How many are glad for that? All right. But how many glad we have lunch? Okay, so. We got Jersey Mike's back there. We have turkey, ham, tuna, and veggie, okay? And so it's all marked back there. we'll dismiss you here in a second. Just want to go over just a couple more quick announcements. And there's a schedule also in the back on the table on the side. There's a schedule there of all the upcoming trainings that I was telling you about. Next one is the 23rd. So think about maybe who needs to be here at the next one, who's not here at this one. So how many plan on coming back? Okay, good, all right. Well, we got room for a few more, all right? And so, how many enjoyed this so far? You found it beneficial? And I think it's great. And so, again, we're just all trying to work together. We have a great continuum of care here, a lot of great. Kern County has been recognized for doing great work in homelessness and all the different things that we're doing. And so congratulations to all of you for being here, and enjoy the lunch. After the lunch, after you eat lunch, you can go, or you can take the lunch to go with you, whatever you want to do. And again, thank you for being here. Again, thank DHS, right? And the BKRHC, that stands for the Bakersfield Kern Regional Homeless Collaborative. That's what you're all part of, okay? And again, my name is Steve Peterson with Commissioner Kern County. I'm the chair of our governing board. And on behalf of all of us in the governing board, we thank you for being here. Have a great day.
Great.